Hello, one and all. Welcome to Save the Gameboy, a Nintendo podcast from Save the Game Media. My name, as always, is Brandon, or Hollow, depending on how you want to address me, how I'm in the Discord and whatnot. But I want to discuss a bunch of things that have been going on this week, especially today, being Wednesday, April 9th, which was our pre-order date in the US for the Switch 2, which unfortunately was taken away from us abruptly by someone I'm not keen to name, but due to oncoming presidential tariffs against pretty much the entire world that has upset pretty much everybody that I know in one way or another on any side of the aisle, we don't get to pre-order this today. So I want to start off speculation and say I think with everything that happened today, with the tariffs being pulled back for 90 days, we may be able to see a Switch 2 pre-order in the US and Canada, I'm hoping by next Wednesday. Nintendo needs to make a statement on what's going on with future plans for pricing, as well as Best Buy, Walmart, GameStop, and possibly Amazon need to make their announcements on when pre-orders are going to go live. I know I was excited about the Best Buy pre-order, specifically because I have everything that I need already ready for that. I could do the same process with Walmart, but I'm hoping to get a little bit better in with Best Buy in how it's going to be sanctioned for a midnight release rather than direct shipping. So I'm looking forward to hopefully that going back on the rails. GameStop tends to be a nightmare when it comes to pre-ordering consoles if you don't go inside the store. I've never seen anyone have good experience with the pre-order online. If you have, join our Discord or leave comments here. I'd love to hear your story about that. I've gone into detail about this in Discord quite a lot. I used to be an assistant manager for GameStop during the great 2013 E3 issue, which is going to lead us directly into one of our comments and questions today. I wanted today's episode to be specifically about questions, concerns, and discussion topics about the Switch 2 tariff and pre-order situation. I know most other countries, most of the UK has already sold out on their pre-orders, which is fantastic because Nintendo has about 20 million Switch 2s ready to go worldwide. Don't know how many are in the US, but being a big hub country, I'm pretty sure there's probably about 8 or 9 million hanging out here, with about that 10 to 12 million for the rest of the world. Aside from Japan probably having another 5 to 8 million ready to go just for their users. Because we saw how well the PS5 Pro did, and we know the Switch, being the Switch 2 with those upgraded Joy-Cons, the magnetic lock, the bigger screen, the substantial jump in power and quality and what they've put into the system, it's going to be a big seller for a while. We may have issues with actually getting our hands on them, which may result in more scalping again with like the PS5 and the Xbox One Series S and X issues. But I don't know, because Nintendo's got some really cool safeguards in place. If you are worried about pre-ordering, Nintendo might be the best place to do a pre-order through. They don't have anything set up yet, but if you have played at least 50 hours on Nintendo Switch Online, if you have had Nintendo Switch Online paid up for at least 12 months, and you have your account linked to the Nintendo site with, I believe, statistics and data being shared with them, that is the gateway to get into a pre-order from Nintendo. They will send you an email. You have 72 hours to respond with purchase. Other than that, it's going to be a gambit going through the different retail sites. GameStop is notorious for building pre-order bundles to pad their bottom line. I think after the pandemic, GameStop got real tired of breaking even on just, I want just a system, I don't need anything else. So, like with PS5 pre-orders, when they came back into stock, they were selling a $500 bundle for roughly $800, including controllers, games, accessories, some things you may not even need. I was contemplating getting one of those bundles, but I didn't want Call of Duty. I didn't want some of the other games they were bundling it with. I didn't need a second controller or the charging dock. I didn't need GameStop gift cards to go with it. I just wanted the system, and they refused to sell it to me that way because it was set as a bundled price. So I got real lucky with Walmart. I know I talked about this last time, and I like to bring this up because there are methodologies on how to do pre-orders. Watch one of my other videos. Talk to me more in depth in Discord, or leave messages down below, and I'll do my best to respond. Because I want to help everybody make sure that they get the systems that they want. Because we're gamers, we help each other, and we do our best to get what we can. So, without further ado, I have 3 budding questions here from Kyle, Sam, and Alpaca Tom, one of our Patreon supporters, as well as one of our more communicative members. Let's start with Sam. So Sam is asking, is Nintendo actually having their Don Matrix 360 and or PS3 you'll get a second job moment? And will it have any material impact on their success? I don't think Nintendo is having a burn ward kind of moment, or shooting themselves in the foot. There are some issues coming up with, like I brought up with the cartridges for the Switch 2. The Joy-Cons are not going to have the Hall effect sensors that we thought they were going to have to prevent stick drift. So more than likely Nintendo is going to be warrantying those items for a couple years, that if you do experience that, you're able to send the Joy-Con into Nintendo free of charge, so that they'll able to repair it or replace it for you and send it back to you in a timely manner. I know they were pretty good about the Switch 1 Joy-Cons when that issue arose. I'm more of one to be able to fix that myself. I can take these controllers apart, I can swap parts and resolder things as necessary, so it's not that big a deal for me. But for a lot of people, it's the peace of mind of having, oh, I have my Joy-Cons, but getting the drift, so I'm going to send it in, wait about a week or two, hopefully, to get a new one back, unless Nintendo does an RMA process and just gives you the returned unit. Here you go, here's this, with a credit card on file, we're going to send it to you, send us back the broken one, we won't charge you. If you keep it, you get charged. I like that methodology, but most of the time an RMA is going to be, send us the unit, as soon as it's sent that it's in shipping, and it's received, we're going to send you out the new one. So, I don't believe we're having that same kind of PS3, Xbox One moment. But I know a lot of gamers are excited about the Switch 2 and upset about the potential increase in price due to tariffs. Tariffs are bad for a lot of people and a lot of reasons. There are very few reasons that they're good. I don't really want to give praise to anybody using them right now in such a derogatory manner. And it's meant to change things in a different way. And the way this is all going about is, this is all wrong. This is not the right way to do anything like this. I don't want to dive too much into politics. I know we've done it in the Discord. It's not something I really like to talk about too much, but it does affect us all every day. And with the protests going on and anything like that, just do what you can to help. Don't get into trouble. Let's try to be gamers for a gamer cause, and to help out everyone else in our community, regardless of who we are. But with this, Nintendo's not having that moment. We're in line with pricing. Like I had originally said, I believe the Switch 2 was going to be between $400 and $450, specifically because it was in line with the PS4 and PS4 Pro pricing. Mario Kart being bundled in for $50 is a great thing, but it also shows a different card that Nintendo's playing. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Nintendo loves to break even on the systems and bundles that they make, so that everything after that is almost pure profit. The Wii U needed one single game to be sold with the system to be profitable. The Switch 2, putting an $80 game at $50 to bundle that for a $500 bundle, means that this is going to be profitable or break even by just giving us a game for a little bit of a discount. I like what they're doing there. I'm not a fan of the extravagant pricing, but I'm going to get onto that with Kyle's question in a moment, because I want to finish up with Sam's. I don't think this is going to have any material impact on success. in the long run. It may have it in the short term. When we look at June 5th, depending on how pricing and everything else is for the US, which is only a part of the whole, Nintendo's already selling out worldwide. And if we're talking 20 million units, let's say 15 million units are worldwide and only 5 million are for the US. That's 1/4 of what their maximum operating profits can be from the world that is going to be held back in the US, which is not going to affect them that much because there are people that are going to be willing to be like, all right, this is 550, 600, just give me the system. I need it now. I want it. I've made promises. I said I wanted to do this. I have to do teardowns. You have so many YouTubers that are going to buy these just to get the game so that they can do everything that they need to do for streaming to keep those numbers up and keep themselves going. So I don't think we're going to have that big of an issue on impact of success. It is going to hurt a little bit at the beginning, but once things start to level off, I think we're going to see these in more people's hands, just like we predicted. Kyle brought up thoughts on people being disingenuous about their outrage in pricing. Now, for example, Tears of the Kingdom is a $70 Switch game and then a $10 upgrade fee to the Switch 2 edition. That's an $80 game. If you buy the Switch 2 version, that's just $80. This is the same exact model that Sony uses with base game plus an upgrade charge, yet people are acting like this is some crazy tactic that isn't used by anybody else. So, perfect example here that Kyle gave us. This is being used by Sony. This isn't necessarily needed to be used by Microsoft because they do the upscaling, they do everything else to make their games just as good on the newer systems as they were on the old ones. Nintendo giving you a $10 bump to give you that graphical upgrade, or Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild getting the app support on the phone to give you a full guided GPS guided map system with item hunting and shrine hunting built into it is kind of cool. With other games that are going to have that upgrade, I think it's kind of a good thing that a lot of these aren't exclusive to Switch 2. Like, if I can't get a Switch 2, I'm still going to play Metroid 4. But this also gives me the capability of like, oh, $10 when I get my Switch 2 to bump Metroid 4 up to the Switch 2 version, where I can use the Joy-Con as a mouse like I intensely want to. Because I've always wanted to play Metroid Prime as an actual shooter with a keyboard and mouse. But at least this time I'll just have the mouse portion. I also want to bring up something else that people seem to forget. We're paying $70 for games right now, and even when we were paying for $60 games before a few years ago, we have DLC, we have season passes, we have gated content that's in those season passes and DLC packs. So we're paying $60, but we're also paying $15 or $20 for DLC. We're paying $30 for a season pass. Like, we can say, you don't necessarily need stuff like that. You don't need those characters in Dragon Ball FighterZ, in Mortal Kombat, in Naruto, or BlazBlue. We don't need those characters. Yes, they're fun to use, but you can buy them individually. You don't need to use them at all. But that's the point I'm making. This isn't something that's like a necessity. When you lock places out of a map just because you don't have that DLC, that hurts. And it hurts the consumer, the gamer, as well as the development system. Because now you're putting a full wall in place. It's like, oh, I want to go over there, but I can't because I have to buy this stupid thing that's forcing me to buy this to get to that content. Dragon Ball Kakarot did it a good way. Yes, they had a season pass where you can fight on Beerus's world. You get some Dragon Ball content. And now they gave a free Daima update. But those things weren't necessarily gated because you didn't know they were there. So maybe if it's unknown to the player or it's an outside of the area, that can work. Elden Ring's DLC, that fills a huge part in the middle of the map, which looks like maybe they plan to have DLC that was going to fit right there in the center. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I haven't played Elden Ring. If anyone can enlighten me, can you see that DLC area if you don't own the DLC? Or is it still going to show you the base map with an area that you can't travel through? I'm curious about that. But I know there are games that do have those kinds of gates in place where you can't go here unless you get this DLC, which bothers me immensely and makes me not even want to play the game. Then there are games like Dead or Alive. I love fighting games, as you can tell by most of my examples, but Dead or Alive 5, 6 have costume packs that are $90 each. A $60 or $70 game has a $90 DLC just for costumes. They have 3 of those packs. You can spend over $300 on costumes. Skimpy costumes for the female characters, or cool looking costumes for the male characters, because why can't we give 80 costumes to Ryu Hayabusa? But no, we can't do that. We got to give him dragon outfit, a couple other things, and that's it. And then we're going to funnel all the money into the female characters. Because why do we play that game? For the bounce. No, I play it because it's a really fun fighting game and it's a nice arena-style fighter that's full-on hand-to-hand combat. I prefer it over Tekken. But I digress. That's an argument that I like to start for a lot of people. What I mean is, with these things, we're looking at pricing for Nintendo games that is going to be variable. Donkey Kong is $70, Mario Kart is $80, more than likely. Metroid Prime 4 is going to be $80. I think Kirby is $70. But they're going to run on a variable scale. And the article stated that it's based on development time, development cycle, but an engagement and enjoyable factor. I don't think a 5-hour game is going to cost us $70. I think they're going to put a $50 or $60 price tag on it. Nintendo's done this kind of thing before with 3DS games, and not Wii games, but they've done it with DS games along the way. First party titles are usually $50. Third party titles tend to be $40 or less, depending on the quality of the game. So Nintendo already has this factor in place that they're going to be using to pump out pricing structure for their games, which I'm happy about. And the other thing Nintendo does is they polish the shit out of these things. These games are beautiful. Most of them are a full experience in the game. Mario Kart, Smash Brothers being a prime example of secondary marketing, because Smash gives us extra characters. Obviously, people buy those because you can't play Smash without a full roster. Mario Kart's the same way. We can't play races if we don't have all the tracks. But they were nice enough to give away some of the tracks, or if not all the tracks, with the Nintendo Switch Online. You pay for the online with the expansion pass, you get a bunch of extra stuff to play, as well as extra things for certain games. Splatoon, Mario Kart, and I think Animal Crossing gave you some extra stuff. But we're giving into freebies on stuff, yes, we can buy on our own, because it's not necessarily the make or break, like I need to have this to get that. It's, I can buy this so I can play that, and I'm not going to do it anywhere else. Or I don't want to spend the extra money for the expansion pass because I'm not going to play the 64 games or Sega games. I'm just going to play Mario Kart. Or I'm just here for Smash. Because I know there are a lot of people out there that pay for Nintendo Switch Online just for Smash. Just for Animal Crossing. Just for Mario Kart. And that's A-okay. Because Nintendo Online is cheap. You pay for less than one game a year and you get to enjoy your games online with other people. Less to say compared to PlayStation and Xbox. I'm not sure what Xbox comes out to be. If they have a $10 plan, that's going to be $120 a year. And I think Sony has a $70 plan. So it's a little more expensive than the Switch, but Switch is still supreme in that. because I think it's $30 for an individual, $50 for the NSO Plus, and then you have your family plans where you can just share that out with other people that you consider family. It doesn't have to be immediate household family. It can be anyone else. I know Kyle and Kevin share theirs. And that's cool that you're able to do all that kind of stuff because Nintendo cares about the players. They want to polish their games. They don't release things that aren't fully finished. They don't need day one patches most of the time. And they don't generally need excessive DLC or season passes. Like, I'm excited about the new Mario Kart, even if it is $80, because it looks like you get to find all the stuff you want in-game by exploring. Not, I'm going to take the easy road out and get this $20 pass that's just going to give me what I could have found by just enjoying the game. So I think we're good on Kyle's question. We're good on Sam's, because we're looking at success, marketing, playability, purchasability, how much fun we're going to have with this. And then Alpaca Tom, is paying for Nintendo Switch Online just to use voice chat justifiable? Nintendo's online infrastructure feels like it was built by someone who wanted to see friendships die slowly, with one laggy Smash match at a time. Honestly, I can agree there. The Switch Online isn't the best, but I'll go back to a comment I tried to say earlier on Discord. Nintendo is doing their best with what they can to build their online infrastructure. They're doing well with streaming and downloading classic games to the system so that you can enjoy an older library. And they're doing their best with what they can. Microsoft started everything because they have a full-on Windows network of infrastructure that knows and understands how network latency works. Sony started their project with Final Fantasy XII on the PS2 and did a lot more and better on the PS3. I'll even say I tried PlayStation Now when it was a full beta set, when it was in a full beta release for the PS4. I did not like it. It was super laggy and unenjoyable for a game that I could just pop in my PS3 and play. But now, being rolled into PlayStation Plus, and even years after they did the beta, they fixed a lot of stuff I didn't like. And now cloud streaming for them is amazingly well done and accurate. So it's only a matter of time for Nintendo to beef up their online presence and give us what we want and need for the quality that we're looking for. Especially with giving us the Ethernet port on the Switch to dock. That's huge because that alone is going to improve how people play online if you're using it directly through there. Now, if you're at home, more than likely you're going to leave this thing in the dock so you can get that 4K, so you can get that 60 FPS. And so now you can have that directly connected to an Ethernet port so you can get that pure connection rather than needing to deal with your Wi-Fi speeds, wireless connectivity dropping, or any other factors of just walking around the house. I know because I rewired my entire house with a wireless mesh network, which now works fantastic in my in-law suite because my father-in-law had a lot of trouble getting online, and I noticed one of the walls must have had some copper lining because I could not get more than 5 feet without the signal dying. So, small plug to a wireless mesh network. If you can find one through Linksys, through Netgear, through D-Link, they're awesome to help out and unify how your home network works. I prefer everything hardwired. My PlayStation, my computer, my current Switch right now, I like to take this out so my son doesn't go online. But I have this guy here to hardwire my Switch in. Because you got 2 USB ports, what are you using them for? If not for an accessory to get you connected to the internet. He also believes that the friend system was designed by someone who's never had one. The friend system, again, I'm going to call it infancy, even though we've had a friend system for quite some time with the 3DS, the Wii, the Wii U, the Switch. It's not something that's been a chattable thing. It's more of been an eyesore in how Nintendo's done their friend system. So I like what they're doing with the upgrade to this potential system, but I don't think paying for Switch Online just to use the voice chat is truly justifiable unless they have a select plan just for that. There's also the other things with dangers for the microphone, for children, which I did download the parental control apps, and it's actually working out pretty well on my Switch. My son has a hard shut off at 6 o'clock, and I was able to set that up through the app so that it alerts him a few minutes before while he's playing a game to say, hey, we're going to shut off at 6 o'clock, and it's almost 6 o'clock. So, and suspend the game as well instead of shutting it down so that he can feel confident that he's not going to lose his progress. And I tested that out multiple times with a couple Game Boy and Super Nintendo games, and it does. It puts the system in standby, and you can also have an adult put in their password for you, and that will allow you access to the system for another X amount of time or indefinitely throughout the night. So the parental controls thing on here is huge. And anybody that's thinking about getting a Switch 2, getting a Switch for the first time, and connecting online with children, get the parental control app. It'll save you a ton of hassle. But that's it for the questions that I have here. There's a lot of speculation going on about what's going to happen. Are we looking at a $600 system? Are we looking at an $800 system? We really can't go on, and we shouldn't be speculating that kind of fear. We as gamers want the cheapest thing possible for us, and sometimes it sucks when things go up in price. I know I was upset and started looking at games on eBay when PS5 put games up for $70. I thought that $10 difference was not justifiable. I still only own maybe 10 games that I paid full price for. Everything else I've gotten on pre-owned, buying them from somebody on eBay who's been done with the game, or buying them at discount when they drop on the PlayStation Store. I know a lot of gamers are huge bargain hunters. Xbox Live is a great thing for essentially bargain hunting. You're paying $20 a month to get a huge library of games you may never have thought of playing. And now you just have this library to play with. You don't actually need to buy any new games because they just drop them right there when they release until they stop doing that, which will upset up a lot of people. But it's Microsoft's bottom line that they're talking about. PlayStation doesn't do day one drops unless it's a direct partnered game. I know a great game everybody's looking forward to right now is the Blueprints, which I'm kind of seeing more and more and being excited about it. I'm sure that will also be on the Switch, or the Switch 2 at some point. But we just got to look at things and take it with a grain of salt and understand that, yeah, these things happen, but we've already been paying this too much for games with DLC. And the games themselves that have been released for PlayStation, for Xbox, they need patches. Day one. They need major updates within a week because they ship the games with no polish. Nintendo doesn't release games without them being perfectly polished and not needing these kinds of updates. Metroid Prime 4 is a prime example because we've known about it for so long. They could have finished it in 2 or 3 years and thrown it out on the Switch and then put up updates when people found bugs, glitches, and other impassable problems. But no, they let it sit, they let it develop, they let QA do their job, testers do their job, and make sure that these things are perfect for us as players. So I'm not too upset with things like that. And we're just looking at pricing the way it is and how things are moving forward. Technology changes, prices have to go up. It's something we just have to deal with. And if you don't want to, wait for a sale. I know Nintendo might be more inclined to do more sales if they're trying to push physical media out of the market, or at least stop producing physical media for it, which I know in some countries they are going to be having a difference in price between digital and physical, which to me shows that they're trying to phase out physical for those regions, at least just just so you don't have to keep swapping out cartridges. They know it's annoying. They know it can be... People make accessories that are just game breaking and system breaking. Like, I saw a cartridge switcher that you have to plug in a fake Switch cartridge, and then you can switch through the games. But that can cause issues. That can cause back charge. You can short out the port and never be able to play a cartridge game again. There's a lot of dangers with some third-party accessories that aren't truly vetted to use. And I think that's what Nintendo's looking at. Their primary target is not dealing with scalpers, getting people consoles and stuff that they want, rather than, oh, let's give somebody the ability to make $100 extra on what we're making a break even on, because somebody wants to be selfish. And I want everybody to have what they want. Like, we want games, we want lower prices, but we can't have all of that in the same world. Some prices are going to be higher than others. Some are going to get nice and low. And I'm hoping Nintendo starts to work with their own industry and say, like, sales aren't a bad idea. I hope they bring back the 2-for-1, the $2, the 2 games for $100 pass that they're doing on Switch Online. I hope they have something different. Maybe it's $120 for 2 $80 games. Maybe it's $110 for 2 $70 games. It all depends on how they want to market this and how they want to bring these kinds of deals in so that they can be more profitable. So thank you guys for listening to me rant about all of this. I know it's tiring. It's late for me. I do these recordings after 11 at night. So yeah, I'll yawn a few times and look like I'm tired, but I'm all there. One thing I do want to leave, which was a cool interaction and a nice conversation that happened to Discord today in my Save the Gameboy channel. Ty posted his most important gaming consoles in history. And his were the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1 and 2, and the Xbox 360. I made a statement, and then I was able to voice my opinion. And my top 5 that are the most important to the industry are the original NES, the Game Boy, Nintendo 64, and PlayStation share the same slot for a reason. The Wii and the 360. And the reasons I put up here are the NES and the Game Boy are our generational starters. We would not be where we are with handhelds or home gaming equipment at the caliber and level that we have if it wasn't for these systems. If it wasn't for the 8-bit NES, and it wasn't for the 8-bit Game Boy. Nintendo 64 and PlayStation are on the same level because we could not have one without the other. If you don't know the history behind this, I will give you a quick explanation because it's one of my favorite things to talk about. I talked about it in my Jeopardy. So if you're on our Patreon, you can watch our quarterly game that we do. And this was our last Jeopardy board that I got to make. Because I got to skirt off with second place throughout most of them. And Sam was purely a winner for most. But I just found out Sam was not a winner for this one. Because mine was too hard and too weird. Nintendo partnered with Sony to create a Nintendo PlayStation. It was supposed to be an add-on or a separate console to the Super Nintendo. Several images you can find online are going to show the Super Nintendo on top with the Sony PlayStation or Nintendo PlayStation add-on underneath, which is going to be a disc-based system with a little bit more horsepower so that Nintendo could propagate some disc-based games. But towards the end of the build cycle, Nintendo backed off, gave what they were working on with Sony all to Sony, and went to work on the Nintendo 64 thinking that cartridges still had another generation in them. That birthed the Nintendo 64 and our 64-bit system and the PlayStation 1 with our higher-end graphics and 3D capabilities. So those two are in the annals of history as an amazing innovation in gaming technology. The Wii, which some may be shooting an eyebrow up at, the Wii got a lot more people into gaming disguised as a full family utility that, even with their ads, showed that the elderly could get up and play. So it was a nice thing for exercise, for movement, just to get them going. I know one of our favorite tournaments at PAX is Just Dance. That takes hours to run. And it's one of the funnest and loudest tournaments that we host in our console tournament room. Not even in our room. There's a dedicated dance stage for the Just Dance competitions. And always amazing to watch. And I put the 360 on here because it helped and it was a solid start to the online ecosystem. It was one of the easiest to use, to download and purchase games from. PlayStation 3 had it. But I have to give it more towards Microsoft because they had the system in place where all they had to do was create a storefront. And then here you go. Now you can buy and download games and start this horrible trend known as DLC. But I'm going to leave you guys here with this. I want you to be excited about the Switch 2. Let's try to pump each other up and not dive into the hole of politics and how bad this can be, because we are going to be happy. We're going to be excited for the Switch 2, and we're going to want Nintendo to succeed in what they're working with and maybe change some things for us because we're the ones that hold the real power. Again, we're going to have links to the Discord underneath. We're going to have links to our Patreon underneath. You get extra content every month. You get early content by being able to listen to our podcasts on anywhere that you are listening to podcasts, because we have links to those, so you're able to get that through our Patreon. My name is Brandon. This is Save the Gameboy, and let's get that Switch too.